When Tiger Woods walked into a quiet Florida courtroom, nobody expected much. Just a routine hearing, a minor zoning issue, and a celebrity going through the motions. That's when a power-hungry judge made the biggest mistake of his career, trying to humiliate a man he thought was just another headline. What he didn't know was that Tiger didn't just come prepared, he came with a legal game plan. And what happened next became courtroom legend. Because in true Tiger Woods fashion, he turned pressure into precision and delivered a masterclass in calm, calculated justice no one saw coming. It was the kind of case that usually passed unnoticed, a zoning technicality, buried in paperwork and forgotten the moment it was filed. But this time it came with headlines. Tiger Woods, the most recognized name in golf, stood quietly at the defense table of a modest courtroom in a sleepy Florida town. No fanfare, no press conference, just the weight of his name echoing through worn wooden benches and faded marble floors. Locals filled the room in hushed curiosity. Whispers darted between pews like wildfire. Why's Tiger Woods here? Over a golf course? What most didn't know was that Tiger had recently donated 50 acres of land to build a community golf training facility for underprivileged youth, complete with free coaching, school tutoring, and job programs. The project had been celebrated, even featured on local news, until a sudden complaint buried under vague language and legal jargon triggered an official citation. At the bench sat Judge Raymond Kessler, a man known not for fairness, but for precision weaponized into authority. His crisp black robe looked custom-tailored, but the glint in his eyes betrayed something colder. Kessler had built his reputation on being the judge who doesn't bend, especially when cameras were watching. As Tiger waited silently, the judge cleared his throat and adjusted his gavel like a performer adjusting a mic. He looked at Tiger not with respect, but opportunity. This court will now hear the matter of the state of Florida versus Eldrick Woods. A reporter in the front row grinned. A YouTuber tapped record. And somewhere in the back, a retired city clerk raised an eyebrow. Because something about this didn't feel like justice. It felt like a setup. Before we dive back into the story, I've got a quick favor to ask. I'm working toward a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And every single one counts. It would mean the world if you'd hit that subscribe button. All right, back to the story. Judge Raymond Kessler didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in control. And control, as he saw it, started with the narrative. Weeks before the hearing ever appeared on the docket, Kessler had already pulled strings to ensure the citation landed in his courtroom. The zoning complaint, filed by a concerned citizen tied to a developer known for buying up community land. The timing? Suspiciously perfect. To the public, it looked procedural. To Kessler, it was a chess move. The courtroom was unusually full for a zoning case. Front row packed with local influencers live streaming for clout. A TMZ stringer pretending to be bored. Even the mayor's assistant lurked near the exit, pretending to check his phone. Word had spread. Tiger Woods was about to get knocked down a peg. Kessler relished it. He had watched Tiger from afar for years. The accolades, the comebacks, the respect. And while most admired it, he resented it. To Kessler, no one should be untouchable, especially not a man who had transcended fame, wealth, and scandal to become bulletproof. So he had a plan. Issue the fine, throw in a veiled insult about celebrity privilege, and close the book. A moment of public humbling wrapped in legal jargon. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Tiger hadn't shown up unprepared. Because while Judge Kessler was building a spotlight, Tiger had been building something else entirely. A case. Back at the defense table, Tiger sat in stillness, not nervous, not smug, just focused. His briefcase rested quietly at his feet. Inside, it didn't hold endorsement deals or golf memorabilia. It held proof. But for now, Kessler grinned at the crowd, gavel ready. He had no idea the storm that was about to unfold. And he definitely didn't see the trap he'd just stepped into. When Tiger Woods walked into the courtroom, no one quite knew what to make of it. No lawyer flanking him, no designer suit, just a pressed button-down slacks and that unmistakable quiet presence. He carried a single briefcase, black, worn at the edges. Not a flex, just functional. He nodded to the bailiff, gave a polite smile to the clerk, and sat down without ceremony. Not once did he look at the cameras, even as they zoomed in to catch a crack in his composure. There wasn't one. Judge Kessler watched him with thinly veiled contempt. "Mr. Woods, I hope your time off the green hasn't made you forget how rules work in the real world." Tiger offered a short nod. "I'm aware of how they work, Your Honor." Kessler leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Good. Because celebrity status doesn't translate to immunity in my courtroom." Tiger's only reply was a quiet, "Understood." It was the kind of exchange meant to provoke. But there was no flash of ego, no rebuttal, just stillness. In the third row, an older court clerk leaned toward her younger colleague. He doesn't look nervous. He looks ready. The murmurs around the courtroom quieted. Phones were still recording, but fingers hovered over pause buttons, because whatever people expected, a breakdown, a meltdown, maybe even a guilty plea, they weren't getting it. Tiger sat like a man who'd read the script before it was written, and somehow, that was more unnerving than any outburst. The gavel dropped with a snap that echoed louder than it should have. $50,000, Judge Kessler announced, voice loud enough to reach the back rows. Payable within 10 business days. Failure to do so will result in a forced closure of your facility and potential seizure of assets. Gasps rippled across the room. Tiger didn't flinch. Kessler stacked a few papers, clearly enjoying the moment. Let this be a reminder, Mr. Woods. Fame may carry weight in the tabloids, but in my courtroom it means nothing. He reached for his gavel again, tone theatrical. Court is... Tiger raised a hand, calm and composed. Your Honor, if the court will allow it, I'd like to represent myself. The silence that followed was immediate. A pin could have dropped and echoed off the marble. Kessler blinked, caught off guard for the first time that morning. Excuse me? Tiger stood, his movements measured, respectful. I'd like to speak on my own behalf. A low murmur spread through the room. One influencer's camera zoomed in shakily. A man in the back whispered, He's not serious, is he? The judge chuckled, dry and sharp. Mr. Woods, this isn't a post-match interview. Representing yourself in court is unwise. Tiger nodded. Maybe. But I believe I have the facts, and I'd like the opportunity to present them. The judge waved his hand dismissively. Suit yourself. This'll be quick. He leaned back, already convinced of the outcome. But across the courtroom, something shifted. Tiger stepped forward, not as a celebrity, not as a golfer, but as a man with something to prove. Not with volume, with truth. Because he hadn't come to play defense. He'd come to win. Tiger stepped up to the podium with the same calm focus he brought to the 18th hole at Augusta. He placed his briefcase on the wooden surface, clicked it open, and slowly pulled out a thick black binder. No labels, no stickers, just clean, precise organization. He flipped it open and turned the binder toward the bench. Respectfully, Your Honor, he began, his voice even. This citation was filed using Ordinance 14B. Kessler leaned in, brow furrowed. Tiger continued, turning the page. 14B was repealed by the City Council 6 years ago after a unanimous vote. Here's the resolution, dated and signed. He slid a laminated document forward. There was a pause, a long one. The judge reached forward, lips tightening. A low ripple of murmurs moved through the courtroom like distant thunder. The influencers weren't recording reactions anymore. They were frozen. Tiger kept going. Here's the site's environmental clearance. Here's the updated zoning approval from last quarter. And here, he flipped again, are 3 permits signed by Commissioner DuPont, whose office issued the green light for construction. Kessler's smile, the one he'd worn all morning like a mask, began to falter. Tiger didn't gloat, didn't grandstand, just pointed to the facts, each one calmly, clearly, and indisputably documented. Your Honor, Tiger said softly, I don't believe this was a misunderstanding. I believe this was misfiled deliberately. A quiet gasp came from the left gallery. The judge leaned back, because in that moment, the script he'd written began to unravel, and the man he tried to corner was now holding the pen. The next 60 minutes felt less like a courtroom hearing and more like a masterclass. Tiger stood without notes. No legal team, no dramatic gestures, just the steady rhythm of someone who had studied every detail and knew exactly where the cracks were hiding. He began with the timeline. This citation, he said, gesturing to the original document, was filed on March 3rd. But according to municipal filing logs, the permit for the property was approved March 1st. He turned to face the gallery. 2 days before the citation was created. From the prosecutor's table, papers shuffled nervously. A legal intern, young, sharp, and clearly rattled, began scribbling notes with a speed that bordered on panic. Tiger moved to Exhibit B. The inspection signature here is from an individual who, per city employee records, was on leave during that week. I confirmed that through a faux IA request. Kessler shifted in his chair. Tiger flipped another page. Here's a letter from City Planner Mark Finley confirming that no complaints were filed through official channels regarding the property. He looked up, calm, focused. And yet, here's an unsigned complaint, handwritten, with no date, filed directly to your office, Judge Kessler. You could hear the breath catch in the room. Tiger paused, letting the weight of it settle. I'd like to know, he added quietly, how that letter bypassed city protocol and landed directly in your chambers. Silence. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a moment. Because this wasn't just about zoning anymore. This was about intent. And in that room, one lined with cameras, clerks, and quiet professionals, everyone saw it. Tiger Woods wasn't defending himself. He was unmasking something. And the man behind the bench had just been pulled into the light. By now, the mood in the courtroom had shifted completely. What started as a spectacle, another celebrity brought to court, expected to stumble through red tape, had become something else, something sharper. The crowd, once half distracted and hungry for clips, now sat motionless, eyes locked, phones forgotten. Tiger reached into his binder again and pulled out a slim folder. "Your Honor," he said calmly, "these are email exchanges from the public record between your office and a Mr. Landon Pierce, principal developer at Silvercrest Holdings." Kessler's head snapped up. Tiger continued, voice steady. "Silvercrest has been attempting to acquire the East Ridge property for over a year, the same property now housing my youth training facility." He handed the documents to the bailiff, who paused just a moment too long before delivering them to the bench. Tiger's gaze didn't waver. "These emails," he said, "show coordinated language, meeting times, specific mentions of obstruction options. One message, dated just 3 days before my citation, includes the phrase, but use your discretion, we need this deal clean." Gasps scattered across the courtroom like wind through dry leaves. Even the bailiff took a slow step back from the bench. The judge opened his mouth, tried to speak. "Mr. Woods, that's—" But Tiger held his ground. "I thought this was about justice." The judge fell silent, because everyone could see it now. The cracks weren't in the paperwork. They were in the man behind the robe. Kessler gripped the edges of the bench like a man trying to stop a landslide with his bare hands. But the ground was already gone. Tiger placed one final document on the podium. It was thin, just one page, but the seal at the bottom made it louder than anything said all morning. "This is a signed letter from the City Planning Commission," Tiger announced. "It explicitly states that the citation issued against the East Ridge property was filed in error, and that no active violations exist." He looked up, direct. "This letter nullifies the entire basis for this case." Kessler's jaw tightened. "This court determines what's relevant, Mr. Woods." Tiger didn't blink. "Correct. And under Section 3.7 of Florida Judicial Conduct Code, subsection B, failure to disclose personal or professional conflicts of interest may be grounds for formal inquiry." He flipped to another page without raising his voice. "And under Harvey v. State 2009, precedent supports immediate dismissal of cases where evidence reveals deliberate judicial entanglement in property acquisition disputes." Silence fell, not out of confusion, but comprehension. This wasn't a celebrity trying to squirm out of trouble. This was a man who had come prepared to end the game entirely. A woman in the back row whispered, "Oh my God!" The prosecutor sat frozen. The judge's hand hovered over his gavel and never dropped. Because now it wasn't just a hearing, it was exposure. And Tiger hadn't just defended himself. He'd dismantled the very mechanism meant to corner him. Slowly, the weight of it settled over the room. This wasn't a defense. This was a reckoning. Tiger didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He closed the binder slowly, hands steady, and looked directly at the bench. "This isn't about a fine," he said, his tone measured and clear. "This is about using the law to punish generosity. And that's not justice. It's politics." The words didn't echo because they didn't need to. They sank. Deep. The judge didn't reply. Couldn't. He stared forward, face blank, the gavel still resting untouched, because what could he say? He'd been outplayed. Not with tricks, not with technicalities. With truth. A moment passed. Tense. Fragile. Then, softly at first, someone clapped. One hand. Then two. Then a rising wave of applause, steady, solemn. Not a roar. Not a standing ovation. Just quiet approval from people who had just watched a man defend not himself, but a principle. Even the bailiff, still holding the now useless folder of court documents, nodded. Outside, the courthouse doors opened to chaos. Reporters surged, microphones angled, flashbulbs popped. But Tiger didn't flinch. He adjusted his sleeves, took a single breath, and smiled. "I've spent my life mastering the course," he said. "This one just had different rules." Then he walked, not out of court, through it. Judge Raymond Kessler resigned 31 days later. No press conference, no public statement. Just a formal notice typed in 12-point font and slipped into a manila envelope. The investigation that followed confirmed what Tiger had exposed. Private communications with developers, procedural manipulation, and an abuse of authority hidden behind a courtroom bench. But by then, the world had moved on to something better. The East Ridge facility officially opened 2 weeks after the hearing. National news outlets showed up expecting a golf story. What they found was a school, a space where kids could learn the game and the law, where a putting green met a whiteboard, where mock trials followed putting drills, and where community teens stood tall behind mock podiums, quoting case law instead of viral trends. And every Thursday afternoon, without fail, a familiar figure walked the grounds. No cameras, no entourage, just Tiger. Not the champion, not the icon, the mentor. Sometimes he coached a swing. Other times he helped a student prepare for a local debate competition. One afternoon, he quietly handed a student a used binder and said, "This one wins arguments. Trust me." And that's how the story ended. Not with a trophy, with a classroom. Narrator's voice fades in over a slow shot of the facility gates. True genius isn't just about knowing the rules. It's knowing when to stand up for what's right, calmly, clearly, and without fear. A golf ball rolled slowly across a putting green and landed dead center in the cup. When Tiger Woods walked back into the courtroom that morning, most people still saw the man from the headline, "Judge laughs at Tiger Woods in court," then gets stunned by his legal genius. The smirks lingered, especially from those who'd watched him stumble through legal jargon just 2 days earlier. But something about him was different now. He stood taller, calmer. The clumsy athlete they thought they had figured out now carried only a thin folder and a quiet intensity that unsettled even the most confident in the room. Judge Margot Hensley, a seasoned federal judge with no patience for theatrics, gave him a skeptical glance. Tiger wasn't fazed. Dominion Gear's legal team, led by high-powered attorney Everett Lang, barely looked up. They believed the case was already won. Tiger had bumbled his way through the opening. Why would today be any different? Tiger rose, faced the bench, and said plainly, "Your Honor, I'd like to present my evidence." His voice was level, firm. Something in his tone silenced the gallery. The laughter had faded. The courtroom didn't know it yet, but they were about to witness a transformation that would rewrite the rules of the case entirely. But what could Tiger possibly have in that folder that would shake the courtroom to its core? Tiger connected a small USB stick to the court's display system. Within seconds, the screen lit up with time-stamped security footage. It showed Dominion executives entering his private golf research facility months earlier, during what was pitched as a friendly innovation tour. The footage didn't lie. They lingered in restricted zones and snapped photos when no one was watching. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Everett Lang jumped to object, but Judge Hensley raised her hand. "Let him finish." Tiger calmly clicked to the next file, a series of internal Dominion emails retrieved from a whistleblower. One read, "Tiger's grip tech is the future. We take it before he figures out patenting it." Judge Hensley sat back, lips pursed. She had laughed at Tiger on day one. Now she was leaning forward. "Mr. Woods," she said, voice tighter, "is this all verified?" Tiger nodded. "Verified. Independent timestamps. Forensic review available." And just like that, the courtroom energy shifted. Tiger wasn't just defending himself. He was building a case. But if this is only the beginning, what else is Tiger hiding up his sleeve? Tiger continued with shocking precision. He revealed audio recordings of closed-door Dominion meetings where executives joked about out-golfing the golfer. One voice said, "Let him play tournaments, we'll play the patent office." The entire courtroom went quiet. Lang grew red-faced. But Judge Hensley didn't allow interruptions. "Mr. Woods," she asked, "where did these recordings come from?" Tiger responded. A former Dominion employee came forward. She was uncomfortable with what she witnessed. He pulled out a signed affidavit and an NDA termination clause, legally bulletproof. Every time Dominion thought they'd struck first, Tiger had already set the counter in motion. It wasn't just strategy, it was chess. And each piece he moved put Dominion closer to checkmate. Judge Hensley was no longer laughing. She was calculating. Tiger then did something no one expected. He cited a little-known section of the Fair Use and Innovation Act, Section 19B. The statute allowed courts to impose a development freeze on any company found guilty of willful technology theft, a 5-year ban on related product development. Judge Hensley blinked. "Mr. Woods, do you have legal precedent for this statute being applied?" Tiger nodded. 3 federal cases. Appendix B. He handed it to the clerk. Lang rose furiously. "Your Honor, this is absurd. This statute is obscure, rarely invoked." But the judge cut him off. "Rare doesn't mean invalid, Mr. Lang." She turned back to Tiger. "Are you requesting the court consider this remedy?" Tiger replied calmly. "Yes, Dominion should not profit from what they tried to steal." The gallery murmured in surprise. Even the court reporter paused her typing for a moment. A 5-year ban could cripple Dominion's entire research pipeline, and Tiger knew it. He wasn't just fighting back anymore. He was going for the knockout. Lang leaned toward his client, whispering urgently. Dominion's CEO, Richard Vail, stared at Tiger with a dawning realization. This wasn't just a public embarrassment. It was a business death sentence waiting to be signed. If one obscure law could bring a tech empire to its knees, what else had Tiger uncovered while everyone was too busy underestimating him? Lang scrambled. That afternoon he called a technical expert to testify that Dominion's grip coating was substantially different. But under cross-examination, Tiger asked a single question. What is the core compound used in your coating? The expert paused. A polymer infused with nanocarbon. Tiger smiled. Exactly the same as mine. The expert stammered. It's common in material science. But the jury and the judge had heard enough. The expert had admitted their tech was virtually identical. Desperate, Lang shifted strategy. Your Honor, we believe Mr. Woods' evidence may have been altered. But Tiger was ready. Here are the original metadata logs verified by a third-party forensic lab. He handed over the report. Once again, every trap Dominion tried to set, Tiger had already diffused. The tension in the room became electric. The once smirking Dominion legal team now sat motionless, watching their case unravel piece by piece. Judge Hensley skimmed the forensic report, then looked directly at Lang. Is there anything else you'd like to challenge, counselor? The silence said it all. Lang sat down slowly, his confidence shaken. For the first time, it was clear that Tiger wasn't playing defense. He was dismantling Dominion's empire in real time. And the most devastating piece of evidence? Tiger hadn't even revealed it yet. Judge Hensley allowed Tiger to call one final witness. The whistleblower herself, Marissa Shaw. She had been Dominion's R&D assistant. Under oath, she described how the company took Tiger's tech and fast-tracked a competing patent within 2 weeks of their visit. I was told to scrub all source references and change formatting to avoid detection, Marissa said. When I objected, I was threatened with termination. She pulled out a printed email chain. Dominion executives joking about cleaning the fingerprints off Tiger's swing. The courtroom sat frozen. Even the court clerk stopped typing for a moment to listen. Lang tried to discredit her, citing a severance dispute, but Tiger had already anticipated it. He presented a clean severance agreement and time-stamped legal correspondence showing no bad blood or pending claims. Judge Hensley looked directly at Lang. This witness is credible. Dominion is not. She turned to Marissa and gave a rare nod of respect. Gasps rippled through the gallery as Tiger walked calmly back to his seat. Dominion's wall of silence had cracked, and now the truth was pouring through. But with Marissa's testimony shaking the foundation, was Tiger about to bring the entire house down? Judge Hensley recessed court for final review. Behind closed doors, Dominion's board called Lang in a panic. Settle, now. But Tiger refused every offer. I'm not here for money, he told them. I'm here for the truth. His calm refusal sent a clear message. This was never about revenge. It was about principle. The next morning, the courtroom was packed. Reporters, law students, business analysts, everyone knew something monumental was about to happen. Tiger sat alone at the defense table, composed. Lang avoided eye contact. Dominion's CEO, Richard Vail, looked like he hadn't slept. The once smug empire now waited on the edge of a gavel. As Judge Hensley entered, the room stood. She held the ruling in her hands, and a visible weight in her gaze. This court has reviewed all evidence. It is the judgment of this court that Dominion Gear is guilty of intellectual property theft, willful misconduct, and attempted fraud. But was guilt the end of it, or just the beginning? Judge Hensley's voice rang clear. Patent number 8765201, claimed by Dominion Gear, is hereby invalidated. Further, pursuant to Section 19B of the Fair Use and Innovation Act, Dominion Gear is prohibited from developing or marketing similar technology for a period of 5 years. The courtroom didn't just react, it shook. It was a ruling few had ever seen imposed. Audible gasps filled the room. Dominion's CEO, Richard Vail, slumped in his chair. Lang buried his face in his notes. Reporters bolted for the exits to file the story. Tiger Woods silences the courtroom with law. Tiger remained still, his hands folded, his eyes forward. He hadn't come to gloat. He had come to restore something that had been taken. But Judge Hensley wasn't done. Additionally, she said, Mr. Woods' self-representation was not only competent, but exceptional. This court acknowledges his preparation, integrity, and understanding of the law. For the first time, she smiled. Sometimes genius comes in unexpected forms. So what happens when the world realizes Tiger Woods is more than just a champion on the course? Outside the courthouse, the media mobbed Tiger. "Was the first day all an act?" someone shouted. He smiled. "Let's just say I knew exactly how they'd underestimate me." Dominion's stock plummeted. Investors fled. Their competitors took note. Stealing tech now carried real consequences. Back at home, Tiger didn't celebrate. Instead, he reviewed blueprints for his next innovation. "This wasn't about revenge," he said to Ava. "It was about protecting the game and everyone who comes after me." The courtroom may have closed its doors, but for Tiger, this moment was only one step in a much bigger mission. A week later, a major tech journal published a headline: "The Tiger Doctrine. Play the long game, even in court." His quiet war had become a movement. Young inventors and athletes alike began citing him as an example. Forums buzzed, patents were double-checked, legal clinics reached out asking if he'd speak. The ripple effect had begun. But what happens when the courtroom's most unexpected hero is offered a role he never saw coming? 2 months later, Tiger stood in front of a crowd, not on a golf course, but at a university innovation conference. "You don't have to be a lawyer to fight for what's right," he said. "You just need to prepare harder than anyone expects." The auditorium erupted in applause. For once, it wasn't about swing speed or championships. It was about standing up for yourself when no one thinks you can. In the audience sat Judge Hensley. After the trial, she quietly retired. But today she rose to join Tiger on stage. "Your Honor," he said, offering a handshake. She smiled. "Just Margot now. And call me your biggest fan." The crowd laughed, but her eyes held something deeper: respect. A former judge honoring a man who had changed how justice could look when wielded with integrity and intellect. Later that evening, Tiger received an honorary award for ethics and innovation. As he accepted it, he looked at the inscription. One sentence stood out: "True champions win with truth." And in that courtroom, Tiger Woods had done exactly that. Not with rage or revenge, but with calm strategy and relentless preparation. He had not only protected his name, he had rewritten the rules of the game. And somewhere behind the scenes, another industry giant just realized Tiger Woods might be coming for them next. Weeks after the conference, Tiger received an envelope. Not digital, not from a fan. Hand-delivered. The return address? Global Tech Ventures, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate known for acquiring promising innovations and burying the ones that threatened their profits. Inside was a letter, short and to the point. "Let's talk. Your talent belongs on a global scale." Ava frowned as she read over his shoulder. "They're not offering partnership," she said. "They're offering containment." Tiger said nothing at first. He simply walked to the window of his home office, staring out at the trees swaying in the wind. "They think I can be bought," he murmured. "Or maybe they're just testing if I can be silenced." The next day, a sleek black SUV arrived to pick him up. No press, no public fanfare, just a private jet waiting to take him to an undisclosed meeting. Tiger grabbed his notes and stepped inside. What kind of empire offers praise with one hand and buries competitors with the other? The meeting was held in a towering glass skyscraper overlooking a skyline he didn't recognize. Tiger was led to a private executive boardroom where 5 sharply dressed individuals waited. One of them, Anika Voss, Global Tech's strategic chief, stood to greet him. "We admire your vision," she said. "We'd like to bring you in, lock up your ideas, build with us." Tiger listened. Their offer was massive. Equity, a lab of his own, even legal protection for future innovations. But behind the smiles, there was a quiet urgency. The kind you only hear when people are afraid of what you might do on your own. "You'd retain control," Anika assured him. "We just want to manage the rollout." He looked at the proposal. Every clause was neat, but one line caught his eye. Exclusivity of all future IP collaborations. Mandatory. He closed the folder slowly. "You don't want to empower me," he said. "You want to contain me." If Tiger walks away from their offer, does he gain freedom or make himself their next target? Tiger declined the deal. Respectfully, firmly. No room for misinterpretation. The silence in the boardroom was colder than rejection. It was calculation. Anika nodded politely, but her eyes sharpened. "Then I hope you're ready for what comes next." She didn't elaborate. She didn't have to. Back home, a string of unusual events began. A patent filing from Tiger's team was inexplicably delayed. Anonymous legal threats arrived, citing obscure licensing violations. A key supplier suddenly backed out. "They're squeezing us," Ava said, reading through yet another cease and desist letter. "They're playing dirty now." Tiger, unfazed, opened a fresh notebook and began sketching. "Let them come," he said. "They think I built one playbook. I've built 5. He didn't just plan to defend himself, he planned to expose the machine behind the curtain. The real battle wasn't in the courtroom, it was in the shadows. Tiger reached out to someone Judge Hensley once mentioned, a former federal investigator turned tech ethics consultant. Her name was Dana Cross, sharp, quiet, and once burned by the same corporate machine now targeting him. "You're poking a very big bear," she warned over their first meeting. "Good, then it'll stand up where everyone can see it," Tiger replied. Together, they built a legal firewall and a digital trail, a pattern of interference, suppression, and coordinated pressure. Tiger's team cross-referenced names, tracked call logs, and pieced together the moves behind Global Tech's smiling mask. Dana called it corporate chess by proxy. Tiger called it proof. With mounting evidence, Tiger scheduled a press conference. He didn't just want a defense, he wanted a spotlight. And this time, the stage wasn't a courtroom, it was the global stage. What happens when the player turns the spotlight onto the ones who usually stay in the dark? The conference room was packed. Not with fans, but CEOs, journalists, and analysts who had all underestimated what one man could do. Tiger stood at the podium, not with a golf club, not with a lawyer, but with a binder, a timeline, and names. He didn't accuse, he revealed. He laid out the chain of events, file by file, step by step, tracing how innovation was suppressed, manipulated, bought, or buried. "This isn't about me," he said. "This is about every mind they've tried to silence." A murmur turned into full-blown reaction as his final slide showed a map of Global Tech's systemic interference across industries. Within hours, regulators launched inquiries. Global Tech's name trended, for all the wrong reasons. Dana smiled across the room as Tiger packed up his folder. "You sure you still want to build things?" she asked. Tiger nodded. "Yeah, only now I get to build without fear. But now that the world's watching, who else might rise behind him?"